But
And yeah,
you cannot sit on the both chairs. Like
yes,
you have
yeah.
to pick something.
Like double the experience that you have who have even been fencing before you've been born. So I'm just like, I just want to fence my game, try to make my actions work. And I'm disappointed when I don't, like, that doesn't happen. Like, I don't think too much about my opponents and idolize them.
Ooh, okay, you don't. I agree.
Come on.
All right. And we're live, Alex.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Oh, so official. If the camera wouldn't be on, you would not be so nice.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
I definitely know that. You're a nice guy, but I know you're a little bit deeper than that. Well, definitely thanks for stopping by for our second podcast. I'm still waiting. We're still waiting for Yarik to stop by. So for those that don't know, Alex over here is a senior national team member for men's foil. So this was your first year that you were on a team?
Yeah, so I was on the team for a couple events. I was off the team for another couple events, but last year, the 2019 to 2020 season, and then 2019 to 2020 was the first season that I did like events with the team. I did the senior World Cups as well, individual and team.
Oh, not bad. And so again, so you're on a team, obviously, you fence around. You're a student of Toronto Fencing Club, TFC, so not like I'm biased or anything over here, you know. Just, but like one of the reasons I asked you to come join is, first of all, as we were talking on the phone, you know, it's only my second podcast, not like we're so good at it. But two is because you actually have an interesting story from what I see with the kids. And then don't be walking all like cocky after the podcast. Yeah, it was so good. But how old are you now?
So right now I'm 19, turning 20 soon.
Right, and you have never made the cadet team, right?
No, I made the cadet team in 2016. We went to Bulgaria for Worlds.
Oh, that was your last year. Okay.
Yeah, no, I also made the junior team, and we went to Verona in 2018 as well.
Well, I do remember you on the junior team, but I also remember seeing you a much younger guy here, and we had Mateusz Kozak. Some of you guys who listen know that, also a foilist, and he was getting, a little bit better results. And he wasn't the only one, but I remember you struggling, and I remember there was at least 1 year that you didn't make the team. Obviously, you trained, but you didn't actually quite make it. And I remember you were all kind of down on yourself. And I remember telling you, we were in the kitchen here, and I was telling you that kind of like, I see you being a stronger fencer as you get older rather than kind of where you were at back then. And I think you were just, you were kind of a small guy. So
yeah, definitely bulked up a bit.
Yeah, but like, did you ever get discouraged if you like did not make the team, or if you were not on the team right now, for example, would you still be trying to make the senior national team?
Yeah, well, definitely right now, one of my goals is to make the national team and the Olympic team. So obviously I'd be disappointed if I didn't reach it, but right now I'm just trying to put in all the effort, do everything that I can do to fence well, to perform well in individual and in team. But going back to what you said about the cadet national team, obviously at the time I was upset. For me, especially because I thought I was fourth in the ranking, but they third in the ranking, and they could send 3 people, but they chose not to because I didn't have criteria. So at the time, I was upset that I felt like I deserved to go, and like why wouldn't they send me if I could go? But I mean, is what it is. It was in the booklet. At the end of the day, it was my responsibility to just make the results and make the criteria. So no one I can blame but myself. But at the time, definitely, I wasn't really happy because I felt like, one, I put in all the work. Two, you could have sent me as well. But it is what it is at the end of the day.
We have some rules to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Now, though, like that you had a chance to fence on a senior team, like what are some of the differences you noticed? So like you fenced cadets, at least some parts of it, juniors and seniors, and like what are the biggest differences between each level in each age group in foil for you?
I think definitely there's a big jump in experience. I mean, when you go from cadet to junior, maybe you're going to fence people with maybe 2, 3 years more experience than you. But if you make the jump from a junior to senior, you could be like fencing with people who are have like double the experience that you have, who have even been fencing before you've been born sometimes. But I think one of the really nice things about the senior circuit is there's a lot of World Cups that we that are like they count for points in our rankings, and because of that, we have a really good group of guys to go. And it's really nice to be part of a team and a group to work together towards performing well together, both in individual, we support each other, and also in team for the team event as well. So it's really nice to have a group at the senior level and to build a little bit of chemistry, um, to like goon around and bond whenever we're like in downtime when we're traveling. It's nice to, because I felt like in cadet and junior there wasn't as many people definitely who were trying and doing all the international tournaments. So it could be a little not lonely, but like it's not as fun when
Oh, for
you're by
sure.
yourself. Yeah.
But like obviously when you go to tournaments and you have like a team, like you feel like you can perform a little better, right?
Oh, for sure. It's always nice to have, especially people that you've been training with all the time. It's nice to go out and fight together and see how far we can go and push each other.
Yeah, and you guys train together much, like the whole national team, or how does it work for you?
So for us right now, there's 9 guys on the squad who can do the Senior World Cups. Right now, 6 of them train with us in Montreal. So we're really lucky to have a really strong training partner and training group in Montreal. A couple other guys are spread out. So I know Eli is in Vancouver. Blake's still in California, I think. Misha's in Manitoba, and Gavin is in Detroit. But for us, the guys in Montreal especially, it's really nice that we get to work with our national coach in Montreal, and as well that we have such a strong group of fencers with us to train with.
Nice. Well, I want first of all welcome Yarik to our conversation.
I don't know why,
Hi.
why my headphones doesn't work. I know.
It's
Hi,
okay.
how are you?
Good.
Yarik.
So this
Alex,
is
nice to meet you.
Yarik. This is
Oh.
Alex, obviously. So Yarik, he's a coach
Nice
at the New York Fencing Academy. He's
Yeah.
also an epic coach. I don't know if you probably did not listen to the previous podcast. It's okay.
Yeah,
But he used to be a big time
Probably
fencer. Used to be like a European champion, multiple time medalist, both for team and individual events.
and
as
he's
well.
individual, right? And the world medalist,
Nice.
Well,
Well,
actually, right? So you
there is a simple thing, was, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, you understand what I mean, yeah?
no, but actually, Alex knows our mutual friend Anatoly Here quite well.
Oh, you know him, right?
He's okay. He's not super good. He's all right in foil.
Oh, you fancy him, right?
No,
Listen,
he's amazing.
he's supposed to hear it. Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm
Well,
glad that you
maybe he'll
know,
get a
bro.
hand of it. But Yarik can't say the same because Yarik lost to him for the finals of the European
Oh
Championship.
yeah, that was proud. Yeah, I was fencing him like in the first few periods. Like I was handling him, right? I knew what I was supposed to do, right? But the last period, I completely lost. Probably I was exhausted. I went through the very uh, I don't know, very experienced guys, you know, very complicated guys, and then I gave a lot of energy to them. So now I wasn't ready for Tole for finals.
Well, we
Mhm.
actually were just talking about that, right? So Alex, he's on a senior national team for Canada for men's foil, and
Wow, congrats, man! That's
Thanks,
really good.
appreciate
Really
it.
good.
yeah, and Yarik last time of the podcast, he was actually saying like it would be nice to talk about actually developing senior fencing in Canada and
Yeah,
US.
that's really nice question. But my question is like, what I'm concerned for. I'm concerned like when you are junior, right? And this is your last year and you turning senior. This is the big problem for the fencers. How you handle this period, like when you're becoming a senior and you're trying to fence the, like international competition, senior competition. This is very interesting for me, like because for me, it was very difficult to fence first year seniors. I was completely lost. I was fencing some people who was Olympic champions, and I was like, oh, how can I fence them? Like, how can I beat them? For me, it was a big question. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. And it's definitely something I struggled with last year, like making the big jump from junior to senior. Originally, when I came to Montreal, I was doing like some senior World Cups and tournaments, but there's no pressure, there's no expectations. So I was just fencing for fun. It was good, doing like performing at my level, if not like above my level. But once like we started Olympic qualification and we were trying to really get results and really perform, I really had trouble with like handling expectations. Um, and fencing like some of the big guys. Like it was hard for me to show up and be really aggressive with other guys who have been in the sport for so long. So definitely for sure is difficult. Something that I'm still working on. Hopefully we'll be ready for the next season and we'll be ready to come out and fight more so than I was last season. But I think it's definitely just something you have to go through. Well, like I'm not sure because I haven't like made it all the way through yet. But I hope that it's something you just got to go through, work through your doubts, and hopefully make it through better.
But
But
can I ask
you
a
don't
question?
put pressure. You don't put the pressure on yourself when you're fencing this kind of people like Baldini or I don't know Macialis.
Uh, Sometimes. Well, I mean, like I definitely want to win. I definitely want to. So that I think puts pressure. But I just want to fence like a good game for me. And sometimes when you're getting picked apart and you start getting doubts in your head, you just fence worse and worse and worse. Like I just want to fence my game, try to make my actions work. And I'm disappointed when I don't like that doesn't happen. So if like I put everything out on the line and it doesn't work out, that's all right. But I'm really disappointed when like I just show up and I can't really fence what I wanted to do because I'm like too overwhelmed by who the person is. Like that for me is what really bothers me and I'm really disappointed.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I was saying like, so I mean, besides the fencing part, we'll dig in a little deeper into the fencing part. But so like in terms of the transition part that Yarik was talking about. So first of all, you let's talk about transitions a little bit about your training. Like so originally when you started training at TFC, you were living how far away were you from the club?
Well, I was really fortunate that I lived like in the area. So I lived maybe like a kilometer walk. So it was like a 15-minute, 10-minute walk for me to go back home. So
But
really fortunate.
that place where you guys were living, weren't so originally and correct me if I'm wrong, weren't you guys living in Brampton, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And you moved to live closer by the club.
Not completely.
Wow.
There's definitely a factor, but I went to school. Like I got into a science program that was right beside the club, so I moved for a combination of like school and also fencing. So I was really
Wait,
lucky that everything worked
But
out.
priority was a club or priority was school?
For me and my family, the priority has always been school.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
That's
it's nice.
everyone.
At the time, I was really lucky that my school happened to be in the fencing area. So as long as I kept the grades up, I was doing well. I could do and put all the effort that I wanted to into fencing, and my parents were happy.
You know what about the distance? I was young like you. I was turning 20, and I moved to another house, which is like let's say 50 miles away from the club. And then I was thinking like, should I go every day to my club? Because like it's too far away. It takes me like an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half to get back. So I was struggling with this, like to getting to the club and back.
you get
My coach,
tired.
yeah, definitely. I got napped in the train sometimes, but that was a difficult period for me. And in a few months, I understood that it's enough. It's really enough for me. It's very difficult for me to understand the people who've been training from different part of the club. Like I mean, like from far away from the club. I like to be part of the fencing, and I want to be like very close to my gym if I would find the place for myself.
Yeah, and luckily for me, like I haven't had to deal with that. Like Tim said, like I live right beside the club. Right now, I live maybe a 20-minute metro away from my club too, so I'm really lucky that that's not like a big problem. But for sure, it just feels bad when you're on the train and it's just like technically is like downtime that you're kind of losing because you can't really do anything. You could try to multitask, but it's not super efficient when you're commuting.
Yeah. And so now you transitioned over to Montreal. You're obviously no longer living with your parents, but you were not really living with your parents. You were living with your grandparents anyways, because your parents were
No,
in
no, no.
America.
I lived with my parents
Yeah.
in Toronto. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, and anyways, now you're in Montreal. And so you're obviously there for training fencing, but you're also there for school. What do you
Right.
do in school?
So I'm a life science major. I'm going into my third year of university in anatomy and cell biology at
Okay.
McGill in Montreal. Yeah.
And what do you want to be?
The goal is to be a doctor. Not totally sold, like that's what I'm working towards, but definitely I think something in health because I find that really interesting.
You
Yeah.
got your goals in fencing right now?
Sorry?
Do you forgot your goals in fencing right now?
No, no, the goals in fencing are up there too, but I also got goals in school as well.
Yeah, you still forcing them, right?
And also
Yeah, I'm
that's
trying to
what I
be good
really
in each area.
that's what I really wanted to ask about the transition. So that's the much more important transition. That's where I feel like, Alex, you're in a great position now to actually spread some word. Like, so you're in a very typical position. Well, besides the fact that you're on the national team, that's not a typical part, but you're in a school, you're studying a difficult subject, you have, pretty high aspirations for you, but you still have the highest of the highest athletic goals that you're trying to accomplish. So like assuming prior to the quarantine and everything, how was your like month of whatever, let's say January of 2019 looking? So you have the school component, you have the training and the competitions. Like pick a good month and like just describe how does that look like?
So in the tournament season is definitely really busy. So January for us is nice because it's the start of the semester. We just started school, so there's not too many exams to worry about. But there's also this January we went to Paris for a World Cup, and then we stayed for a week for training camp after. Some of the other guys stayed 2 weeks, but I decided to come back a little bit earlier to do some more school. But it's difficult. I think the hardest part is the tournaments, and
Yes.
especially with the jet lag and the commuting and
That's
the
true.
organizing your schedule with all your teachers. That's I think the hardest part because with the training and the studying, as long as you stay on top of your stuff, you can build a rhythm and you can build a routine. But all of your routine and rhythm gets like thrown around when you have to fly out on a Tuesday to go to Europe for a tournament. And then when you're there, like sometimes I'll try to do like some work, but really nothing really gets done when I'm like abroad trying to compete because my focus is there to try and compete and get a good performance and good result and not really try to worry about whatever school is happening. So I think it's important to
Studying is getting done when you're abroad, right? Like
you
that's almost
try
you
you
try, but that's almost
try.
impossible.
There's sometimes a little bit gets done on the plane, a little bit on the airport, but like when I'm there, I really try to focus on being there to compete and not worry about other things. Sometimes it's not like it's difficult to focus because there's exams or other things going on, but when I'm there, I'm really trying to just focus on competing and not worry about anything else.
Yeah, but
Wow, yeah.
that's got to be tough anyways.
Yeah,
With
your
this,
schedule pretty busy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't always succeed, but that's the goal always to try and just focus on what needs to be done at the time and just be in the moment.
But
And yeah,
you cannot sit on both chairs. Like
yes,
you have
yeah,
to pick something, you know?
yeah.
have
It's a different
you ever
track.
had like so with that like in school? Have you ever had so you say you have tournaments, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we definitely get that a lot when you've gone through that too. Cadets, juniors. So you had juniors in your first year university still. So
Right,
like
yeah.
you have sometimes one weekend you're in Slovakia, you come back on a Tuesday, you go to school Wednesday, on Thursday you fly out to like Vancouver or something. You
Mm-hmm.
repeat the process, the next following weekend you're in Kansas. And like sometimes we had stretches like that that go on for a month and a half. Like that's what I heard from other kids is that like that's super difficult to be on top of the school part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you take, and you said you obviously you try to do your best to study and everything. Do you have any time kind of left to relax and recuperate maybe, or even to put in like maybe, you know, how the professional teams in other sports do like a film study or something like that? Or is it just like you go to practice, you got to do your workout hard, and you have to come home and do study just as hard?
So like going back to what you said, like I think the hardest part of traveling is catching up, because when you're training and you're doing school at the same time, like if you're not traveling, you can go to training, you can go back and you can do your classes. But when you're traveling and you're flying, you can't really like keep up with your classes. So when you get back, you're always trying to catch up and you're always behind. And it's like a really big effort to come and catch up again. But for going back to what you said, like at the beginning, I was trying to do everything really well. So I was trying to do film. I was trying to do extra workouts on top of my stuff. And like it was working for a little bit, but not really, because I would just burn myself out. So instead right now, like I'm trying to really focus on being really present in training and working really hard in training when I'm there, and when I'm gone, setting some time off for myself to relax. So when I first got here, I wasn't very good at like managing, I guess, my mental health, but not really. More like giving myself space and time to relax. I was sort of like either I'm always trying to do something, always trying to get better. But it wasn't until like recently, like this year, where I realized that I need to like give myself more time mentally to recover. Just like, you know, if you have a really tough practice in the gym, your body needs some time to rest and recover. So that's something that I'm learning and trying to schedule in.
But now during the quarantine, like especially right now, so there is a school online, so it's gonna be easier for you probably.
Well, I mean, last year my school was basically online as well, because we used to have practice. Yeah, like
So
we used to have practices.
Right?
Yeah. I was doing school online before it was cool.
But you like this, pretty busy schedule for yourself? Like, I mean, like this daily routine. Do you like it?
I mean, it's definitely nice. Like I find it's comforting for me to have like a structure. So like it's really busy, but at the same time, like because I'm so busy, there's always something that I can be doing, and it's nice to just have stuff. But I think I'm getting to the point where like I want to start deciding what's important and what can I put aside for maybe later. What can I do and what can I do in like my free time that I enjoy? So that's something that I'm trying to figure out now.
But if you would have some holes in your schedule, what do you would do?
Try to play some video games, just anything to like relax. Yeah. Try to spend some time with my friends and my family.
You just want to reboot some energy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's nice.
What do you think? Like, how long is this gonna continue?
Well, don't ask me, man. I don't know.
Everybody.
I'm sorry, I didn't need to go down that road. Yeah? But like, you know, if we want to talk about developing something here and helping people out how to actually go that far, we have to know like how far can you actually go.
I have a very interesting point. Like everybody knows what UFC, right? UFC, it's Ultimate Fights, right?
Oh yeah,
right. They already bought a special island for these fights, right? But they're still doing this fight. Like, why wouldn't the US fencing do something for fencing like that? I don't know, like build up some building where they can isolate some people and fence. I don't know. Maybe this is like ridiculous, but still it gives some point for fencers.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I feel like somewhere in Eastern Europe that's already happening. They got their training camp already set up.
You mean?
Yes, yeah. They don't want to tell anyone. They're trying to get a little advantage. But I mean, for sure. I mean, logistically, if they could figure it out, like it would be great to see. But I think like no one really knows what's gonna happen. But I think what's important is to be versatile and adaptable. So just try to make the best and figure out what you can do to be the best right now.
But what do you feel without fencing, without real fencing real good people and so on? Like, what do you feel?
Well, actually, I'm really lucky that we just started up bouting again. So it's really nice to be back. And I have a really strong set of fencers 5 or 6 guys who do the World Cups with me. So they're really solid fencing. So it's nice to have like some meaningful bouting again. But definitely during quarantine is something that I missed. One, just seeing everybody for sure, but 2, just like competing with everyone and trying to outperform each other.
What do you think? What do you feel when you're gonna be compete again in the World Championship or World Cups? What do you feel the first bout? You will.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, you will be nervous, or you will be fencing the same person who haven't been competing for a long time. What do you think?
I
what the
feel like,
or you, how this bow is gonna be?
well,
First one.
I don't know like what's gonna happen in the future. I hope I'll be excited to go up. Definitely, I'm sure there'll be a little bit of nerves, but I think at the end of the day, I'm really looking forward to getting towards like the next World Cup and to see what happens.
A little bit of nerves. Okay, so let's get into a little bit into fencing. Well, no, like you know what? I think it's really interesting. Like a lot of people. So the whole reason why this whole podcast come about is that I remember myself being a student and I'm just trying to pick up fencing again after whatever, like with the whole immigration and everything, and just looking for resources. And I was just wondering, like, I wish somebody, could have explained some things. So generally speaking, okay, so yes, let's imagine you are going to some sort of a World Cup. Whatever, you look at the pool that you have coming up, you have a bunch of people that maybe you never fenced any one of them. You've heard some much better, some are worse, whatever. What is your approach to a fencer that you don't know? Like, how do you approach the bout? Like, what are some tactical or technical maybe things that you do to begin the bout against the person you never fenced?
Generally, not
Yeah,
because,
generally.
yeah.
Well, I try to have an idea of what I want to do. Like before the touch, I try to pick an action or maybe a target to try and execute the action. But generally, right now, like I try not to think too much because I feel like once I start to think and really try to pick, oh, I want to do this specific action, I get too fixated on that, and nothing really works because I feel like when I'm thinking, everything slows down a little bit too much. So maybe it's even the right action, but because it's taking a little bit of time for me to think and process it and like try and make the perfect action, then all the timing's off. So even if it's the right action to do, because I'm thinking too much, it doesn't work in the same timing. So
Okay.
I think like I try to just approach and just feel it out a little bit, have a rough idea, and then just try and go and not think too much.
Tim, what do you would do?
Right. So, like, maybe I'm not asking, I guess, the question correct, but my whole thing is that I'm looking first, regardless who it is. Like, I'm
Yeah.
coming out and I'm looking. Okay, first of all, I have some anchors. I guess we'll call it that. I have certain
Well, that's true. That's true. I like it.
like certain things that I try to anchor my mind onto. Right. So I say, okay, most important thing, I'm looking for distance. There's a certain distance where I know that I'm just outside of being hit. Right. So that's kind of I want to make sure I can. And you generally that's like just a tip to opponents, somewhere around there. Right. And then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to tell myself to maintain that distance, even if opponent does a bunch of feints. Like I'm going to respect that distance no matter what. Even if I know opponent's feinting, they may not actually come toward that for the attack, but I'm going to tell myself I'm going to have good habits. I have energy, I'm going to always respect the hit kind of that way. And then I look to do feints on opponents kind of step forward. I want to do a couple of feints and see what the reactions are. And then, okay, that's the rest without getting too technical, but that's essentially kind of how I approach it. Now,
Okay.
my thing, obviously, I'm not a
Yeah.
big time fencer. You guys,
Come on.
national, but it's okay.
Don't say
Alex, you're gonna get yours. I promise. I know you're the hardest worker I've ever seen, so that's okay. But Yarik has already accomplished some things. Yarik. Now you tell us. What do you look for?
If I would find someone who I don't know,
Yeah.
like,
So maybe you know them, maybe you've seen
oh,
them, but you never actually
yeah, okay,
fenced them
but
before.
definitely. In the first minute, I will investigating some actions, but then I'll do my anchor stuff, like what I like, what I literally 100% sure with,
So like
So
you have certain actions that you just
yeah,
have like developed into yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah.
share us.
I
Like, what
feels
would be your go-to move? Like if you know you're something sure of, like what were some of the things you were sure of?
bit flash. Like I mean, like let's just go in my distance. I'm gonna go bit flash easily, definitely. But then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna base my strategy on previous action. So I know that it's gonna be like bit flash, and then I'm gonna go bit fake. And people usually take very full, and I'm going around with a launch or flick to the wrist. That's usually happens, or they're going simply straight. I know it. So I'm up already too. Right. So and then I'm not gonna go forward. I'm not gonna force myself to get another point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna invite them, and they do their job, what they want, and then that's how I build my strategy at the beginning. When I'm fencing 5 touch bout, but when I'm fencing 15 touch bout, it's a different, because you've been fencing with the people your level, and they've been changing their strategy every second or third touch. So you have to adjust yourself to this kind of fencing. So it's a different, completely
Okay.
different. But my point is, I'm all the time building up my strategy and based the previous action, what I've done, and based on the opponent's reaction, definitely. But as a team mentioned earlier, it's about the distance. It's everything fine when you're building up the strategy, but besides that, you have to understand what the distance is and what the distance is supposed to be starting from. You understand that? That's what I'm looking for.
For sure, totally agree.
And so, Alex, what would be like, name us some of the strongest fencers that you got a chance to fence against? Maybe it was in the pool, or maybe in the World Cup. Like who are some of the fencers when you go to sleep, you think, oh, you know what, it's pretty cool, I got to fence, like how you said, like Garotso or someone like that. Like,
well, I don't want to give anyone any ideas. You know, like I don't think too much about my opponents and idolize them.
ooh, okay, you don't. I agree.
Come
That's right.
on, listen,
I formulated the question
even
wrong.
Yeah.
Like, who
even
are
I was
leading
fencing.
question.
who are some all right fencers you fenced?
I got to fence Yavador, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good
Medalist,
guy. Yeah,
bronze
from
at
school.
World Championships. Highway Chen. It's pretty cool to
Yeah,
fence
that's
Highway Chen.
also really nice guy. Yeah.
But even at like training camps where everyone's there trying to prepare before the tournament, it's nice to fence like a bunch of guys. Like we were in Hungary, got to fence the Hungarian, Hong Kong, Chinese team who was all there training with us as well. So just like anyone who's at the high level, who's fenced like a lot of good bouts, is nice to fence.
Nice. So, like at the World Championships, when you fenced against Amador, that was your first time fencing him, right?
Yeah, it was actually at the World Cup, not the
Oh,
championships.
sorry, World Cup. And so you obviously going on the strip, you know who he is, you know it's a solid fencer. How would I formulate this correct? I know you're not thinking that he's better than you, but a lot of other people would look at on paper and think, okay, you know, he's supposed to go and win. And you probably, like, do you have any awareness of that people like realize that, okay, probably there's one fencer, your opponent may be considered the better fencer, right? I'm sure you have some awareness of that. So, like, what do you do to approach a fencer like that at an important tournament? Like, obviously you're going try to win. This is your day. Like, how would you approach that?
So against like the really fencers that everyone really knows, I try not to think about it too much because obviously if I think too much, like it's gonna put more pressure on me.
Of course.
So I try to approach it and just like make him work hard. So if he's a really good fencer, that's fine. Like he can win the match, but he's gonna have to work for it. He's gonna really have to put in the effort.
I love that. I love that.
And you have a point. Really nice answer.
Like I try to do
he
my
has
game.
To work. You definitely have to work. Listen, you're not a piece of meat. You know, you have to give him some ass word. You know.
Yeah.
I think so.
So yeah,
I was fencing once. You know, all of you guys probably Tariel Roll.
Yeah, Matteo Tagliarolo.
Right?
2008 Olympic champion.
Yeah, he's Olympic champion. He's a really good guy, but I was fencing him when he was like going down in his career. But it's still the best. You know, it's still the person who is tough to fence with, you know, and he is still like the person who controls the bout every time. And whenever you're fencing 5 or 15 touch bout, you have to change your strategy all the time. And I was fencing him. I understood like the first touch, he goes with the flick to the thigh. And I like, okay, no problem. What should I do next? Like, and no ideas in my head what I supposed to do because I was nervous. That was my first bout in the pools. And then like he scored the first touch. I'm down by 1, and like, what I supposed to do? okay, let's pick some strategy, right? Like let he goes and I'm gonna execute his action, right? But still, he goes fake to the flick, to the thigh, and then he flicks to my wrist. Second point, like 2-0, and like
You
I'm
feel like you're
stressing
just
more.
watching and reacting. You're not creating yourself,
And
right?
I'm stressing more. Like I'm not doing anything. Like I'm standing on the spot. I'm freezing. Like I'm literally freezing. And then he's doing his own stuff, what he's good at. And like, how can I manage myself? How can I convince myself to fence like I supposed to fence? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
who's supposed to be like coach behind me or myself? How or who can convince me? How can I get back to the fancy, back to reality? Like, what? Answer
Alex,
me.
let us know.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Tell us.
That's a big one. That's a big one. I don't know if I have the answer to that one. Sometimes still happens to me. Still freeze up on the strip. I think one thing that helps is try to do some centering with your breathing.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
so for me, I try to either pick an action that's like an anchor action that you guys did before, and go back to something that's comfortable for me. Try to get back into my game with something that I know. Or if I'm just like too psyched up in the head, I try to just focus on my breathing, find my center of gravity, and just take a couple deep breaths, try and like come back and refocus.
Nice. So how were you feeling in like in the Chan bout or Yamadara bout? Did you ever get to the, like for yourself, did you get your mind into the optimal performance, like the inverted U, right? You want to be at the top? Or do you feel like, because there's two ways you can look at that, like at those types of losses, right? You could look at it like, okay, I definitely fenced well, but opponent just outbeat me, outperformed me. Or you're going up against a strong opponent, but you lost not because you fenced like, you've lost because you couldn't let yourself be normal, fence normal, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
state do you feel like you were in those bouts? And did maybe that changed as the bout went on as well?
So one thing I've struggled with is consistency. So especially at like the Senior World Cups, like some of the matches will be, I'll fence my game, I'll do really well, but the next match it could be like it's nothing. Like it's just me standing on the spot doing nothing.
Yeah.
Still figuring it out. Try to do some of these strategies with the anchors and the breathing, but sometimes it doesn't work as well. So I'll let you guys know when I figure it out. But
Do you ever
um,
do you ever notice that like if
Yeah,
you go against an opponent and like you go do like because everybody at 0-0 there's always tension for both fencers, like regardless, like especially when the fence is relatively like equal or they believe they're both as strong. But do you ever notice that like if you go do an action and it does work, that you have a significant improvement of mental capacity in the bout versus if you go do a first action and like it just you mess it up and then it's a much harder for you to come out from that like mentally. Does that ever
yeah,
help you?
that's true. That's a good point. For me, when I'm confident what I do, like, and it successfully ended, right? So I would do the same. I would do one more time the same, and I'm more confident in doing the same stuff over and over again. But when I missed some, well, I'm confident. Let's say I'm confident in the action, but I missed. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do it the same. I'm not gonna do it like even close like this.
Right.
Like
That
it's right here, everything.
yeah, that's a big thing. Like sometimes it's the right action, you're at the right distance and timing, but if you don't have enough confidence, like you're not going to hit the action. So for sure, definitely, if like for me, if it's the right distance and timing, but I didn't have the confidence to do it, it affects me in the future touches. Like maybe I won't have enough confidence to do it again, even though it's the right action to do and there's not a better one. So sometimes it's just like trying to get out of my own head and just do the action, even though I don't feel confident in it, with enough like intensity and enough commitment that it doesn't matter and it works regardless.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I was just gonna say, I think it's also important. So like we talked earlier in this conversation, right? We can kind of come back in the full circle. We're talking about the importance of like investigating and all that stuff. But there's something left to be said, especially at 0-0. You got to go and do something. Like if you, because especially in epi, right? And I've seen this in foil as well. The weaker fencer may be more closed and shot and not trying to fence too much, but trying to win tactically, right? But if you never come out for that attack, you actually never get to see an honest reaction of your opponent as well, right? Like you may sometimes
Mm-hmm.
know that opponent will do, for example, 2-6 repost, and you're gonna go and do that double disengage step lunge, but you might still get pair reposted,
But
right? But now I think
you know, team,
it's important to
you know,
realize that you saw something you could build on it, even though the touch maybe did not go in your favor. Yes, go ahead.
that's true, Tim. Like, I I see it clearly. Like, whenever you said like, if you never try, you never know, right? So it's the same in your life. You have to take a risk. You have to take a risk sometimes. Whatever you do, you have to investigate, right, in fencing, and then you see the reaction, and you do it. Like, if you're really confident in your reaction. But if you're not confident, you never know what happened. That's the most common problem in fencing. People never try the risky
Mm-hmm.
actions. Never try, and they're like, I'm struggling with this with my students. They're like I'm comfortable with parry 4. They all the time taking parry 4, parry 6. Like, I'm comfortable with this. I don't want to try nothing else besides this. Like, come on, get out from this. Try something else. Try to do something. No, no, I'm good with this, and I'm gonna go with this. Okay, what is the point of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
This fencing gonna grow or not? It's gonna
No.
stuck in the same level, guys. We have to practice with the new actions all the time. We have to take a risk. If we're not taking a risk, we're never gonna achieve another level. That's the reason. You said the right thing, team.
So with that in mind, Alex, uh, so you have competitions regional level, right? We have like around the city. We have like nationals. We have NACs. We have World Cups. Do you feel like, do you have a different set of arsenal that you could tap into at different types of competition? Does
Oh,
your
that's a good
arsenal
question.
change
Yeah,
based on what competition you're at?
that's a good question.
I think I'll have to leave you guys with this one because I got to go. But
Yes.
not really. Like, I try to approach each match the same as the other matches. Like, I'm going in to win. I'm going in to be aggressive, to play my game. Maybe the actions will be different, but the attitude is the same. Like, I'm trying to be aggressive. I'm trying to not like play their game, do my own thing, and just like perform at my level and do my thing.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex, for being
Thank
with
you.
Alex,
us.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Love you too, Tim.
You know, we wish you nothing but the best, and you'll be back again on this podcast to let us know how things are turning out. Okay?
Appreciate it.
So much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Yanni.
Take it easy, buddy.
Bye,
You can
Alex.
turn off. Me and
Have a
Yannick
good
will
day,
stay on
Alex.
first.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
Yeah.
that was
That was a good thing, like, to speak with a good fencer, with a fencer like that level. I'm appreciate that we have this kind of people in our podcast.
no, I think that's interesting for everybody, right? Just to
Yeah.
realize that people are still just people. You know, we all have, like, he
Two hands,
clearly
one
answered
hand,
the same
all
way
two
everybody
hands.
thinks. You know, when you
Yeah.
go fencing against any opponent, we all apparently are scared, no matter how strong we are.
There is the question: why do people think that they worse than the other people? What is why? Listen, I'm like you. I'm not better than you. I'm not worse than you. I'm just I can fence you easily. Just give me the blade and mask, and let's see who's gonna be better between us, and that's it. Like, at the same in the strip, when we fencing in the World Cups, European Championship, or World Champ, wherever, like, the people sometimes so stressful in this competition. I don't understand why. We just have to understand what we have to do, what is our plan, and we have to go in this plan, like, going smoothly, and that's it.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What could be done to, I don't know, what people should know, and what will entail of them to continue on a senior and national team? What kind of commitment does it take from them? What do they have to do to make the senior national
It's
team?
just, it's a tough for me. Like, I've been through this. I've been struggling with this, and what can I say? It's just about experience. We just have to adjust adjust our fencing to senior fencing. It's completely different. Whenever you have like 3-4 actions, which is really good, it's already good. It's extremely good. So just adjust this action to a senior level. That's what I mentioned earlier. It's about experience. We have to get through this. We have to mentally be ready for this. If you're not ready, try to find the people who can help you with this. It's about your mental problem. I don't think so. That is about physical or strategy or technical problem. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
My opinion that the juniors better than seniors because they more fast, they physically stronger in one way.
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
they can manage different fencers. Their mind is better. uh, Emotional stability is not good.
Yes.
This is one minus in this case, but they more creative. They definitely more creative than the senior fencers. So uh, there is nothing to be there is nothing to be worried about. We just have to go through this. The people who is the juniors, I'm just suggesting them to be more focused at their fencing and be more confident in their actions.
Yeah.
That's it.
And what would you say about there's this notion that fencing in Europe is stronger than in Canada or US, or that fencing in Asia is
um,
stronger than in Canada and US?
I'm,
Why is it
I'm
stronger? Is it just because there's better coaching, or is there's other factors?
This is a really good question, but this question takes a lot of time to answer. But I will try to answer. But I'm not agree with this point because
That's right.
in US and Canada, fencers are really good, uh, very good level. Look at the foil fencers. Look at the saber fencer, one of the best fencers in the world.
That's right.
Let's say epi fencing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the system. America and Canada doesn't have a system for senior fencing. Look at the last European or last World Championship. Piskavatskov, Griffiths, and so on. People was in top 4 last World Championships. This tells us that this really incredible good fencers in US and Canada. Besides, like I'm not telling about the American members,
Yes.
right? So let's try to change the system and build up the senior fencing in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Canada and US. I'm
That's
I'm
right.
not agree with this point. I see that the coaches, the staff, let's say, much better in United States than in Europe right now. Much better.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's so I've been doing this like traveling and like what I call professional fencing coach that I've transitioned for about like say 6.5 years or something like that. And I remember about 6 years ago and on when we started traveling to these cadet events, junior events, you know, it's always, and there's some years that it's been almost all wins for Epe, especially I'm talking about, were by Americans. There's some years where it's just kind of alternating. We get some Americans winning, we get some Hungarians, we get some Italians winning. Then you get a French fencer winning. But like, to be honest, every season that I've been a part of, so this is now 6 full seasons, we didn't get a chance. Well, even this one, we got a chance to see most of it. There is always an American fencer in top 4. Almost always. And a lot of times it's also the winner happening. For the cadet events, especially for the junior events, you see a little bit more of a mixture of other countries coming in. And so, but we still have this huge drop off is that those cohorts don't quite graduate and continue to build up with the senior fencing. And that's all because it takes an extraordinary amount of commitment and time, what Alex was talking about, right?
That's true.
Like we
That's
have to
true.
understand, we have to manage being, let's take a fencer that's not on a team,
Okay. Let's say.
right? So let's say you are top 5 through 8 in US or Canada. You're trying to make team Canada or team US. it's one thing once you made the team, you already you have a lot of motivation. You're ready. Okay, I'm gonna force myself through it. But you're 19 years old. You just finish up the juniors. You're hoping you're gonna make a transition junior to senior. Bam, you don't quite make it. You're fifth. Okay, now you have the following year, and Alex, right? He wants to be a doctor. A lot of your kids, they want to be lawyers, doctors, right?
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it from
Well,
them.
that's the reality of the students that we all have. That's reality, of the pressures that they also dealing with.
But listen,
How does a fencer continue trying to make the team, even though they have not made it in their first year? What should they do? Should they continue trying to fence?
that's difficult. That's difficult because I was in this situation.
I know.
I was in this situation. Like for me, was it difficult, like fencing or being something else,
or being, a
Like,
productive member of the
yeah,
society.
because I'm growing. I had a family before, like when I
Yeah,
was a young fencer, right? So I have to support my family. I have to get some money for them, right?
that's
But
right.
in the same time, I have to spend some money for traveling, for equipment, and so on, right?
Yeah.
So how can I manage it? And listen, it's a really difficult time in US.
So
It's
what did you do?
everything.
What did you choose?
I chose fencing. I chose fencing, but
A little bit
there was
different.
a tough period for me. I went to European Championship once, and I got second place there, individually and in team second place
For
also.
juniors?
Yeah, it's under 23 years
Or
old.
U23,
But
that's right,
then,
that's right.
but then this just it's not a rock in some backyard, but
Yeah.
uh, uh, I, I I I got back to Ukraine, and I paid like I don't know $200 for
But that's
this
big money for you being there. That's big money.
once.
Yes.
Listen, I can spend it like in 2 weeks, okay?
Yeah.
But what can I
You
do
could
next?
live off of it for 2 weeks, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I can live for 2 weeks. That's it. What can I do next? So I have to train for an hour a year just to get another medal and get this $200 again. What is the point of it? What is the point? That's why I collect my stuff and I went to Europe to find a job, coaching job, and so on. And that's why I'm in US. And there is a lot of people who've been struggling with this stuff, and in US the same way. Listen, this is everywhere. Hoyle, right? He was in top 16 world ranking. It's
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah, that's right. Jacob Hoyle.
$2,000 per month for him from US fencing, right? It's $2,000, not no more, no more. Why? But he's one of the best fencers right now for
Yeah.
EP, right? So it's only one person. And what we're talking about, the other 300 or 400 epi fencers, right? So they have to find something else, or we
Well,
have to change the system. There is a two ways of thinking, right?
so I guess realistically speaking,
Yes.
like, I mean, unless you already have like some sort of resources that could support you, fencing plus school, you as a young adult, you're trying to go through school or try to become an adult and trying to maintain your high level of fencing, you have to be prepared to schedule your schooling in a way that you could still find a way to train, and probably like if you still need money, so going to school and finding time to train is not the hardest part. The hardest part is getting money.
I'm
And I
agree
think
with you, 100% agree with you.
it's like the best recommendation I could give is that start to learn to coach, because like that's the best way you could still be spending more time around the training aspect, trying to get paid and try to train. Because there's really if you go and get a job somewhere else, unless it's maybe on campus and it's something very easy, then why not? But if you go and do any type of like manual work, or you're working retail, they're going to be demanding a lot of time off of you, plus studying, plus exams and training and tournaments. And like I said, if you're not on the team already, I don't see anybody trying to do this for more than 1 year, right? So I think the best advice is if you want to go all the way to the Olympics with fencing, either be talented enough
You
to
have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something in your life, definitely.
yeah.
There is no other options. But
Right.
are you ready for this?
Yes,
Just
maybe.
just that person who is looking at us. Are you ready for this? Just to sacrifice your life to get this done, right? To get to Olympic Games. But this is the greatest achievement for people who've been
But that's what
trying
I'm saying. Like,
to
unless you already have the money, your other option, coaching could get there. Because if you're going to be a coach, you could actually move around and end up coaching at some of the best clubs. You might not be the most successful coach, but you might, end up doing that, and you have a chance of good sparring opportunities. If it's near your school, hopefully you choose a school where there's
But
good
you know
training.
what? I was trying to mix this stuff, mix the fencing stuff and coaching stuff, but for me it didn't work out because I was extremely exhausted after I've done my lessons, and then after I would decide like let's do some bouts, and then I fenced like piece of crap, like what is the point of me fencing it? This is
But
ridiculous.
I don't know, what else can you really tell a person that's not quite there, right? It's easy for a person that made it, and it's easy for a person that's nowhere close to making that team. They just finished the juniors and that's it. They're done with fencing. What do you do with a person that's number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8 in national ranking?
What can we do with this? So they're gonna go up, obviously.
Well, I don't know, right? Like, if you're close, like, how many years would you tell somebody to continue trying to make the team?
Oh, this is the difficult question. I don't know. Uh, it's based on the previous person, probably. It takes the same time, I think. So it's another year. It's another year. In US, it's completely different. Like you done with the juniors, okay? Look at the Alan Timirev. Okay, he was one of the best fencer in US. It's my opinion. Like he's
Yes,
one
for
of the best.
sure, for sure.
But then he got to Colombia. He said, like, listen, why should I go for this one more year? I'm already in Columbia University. I achieved that what I wanted,
That's
right?
right, that's
I'm the
right.
best college in US. Listen, leave me alone. I don't want to do this fencing for 6 hours a day. I don't want to do this lessons. I just want to continue my life, enjoying with my life.
And you see, he's actually a very perfect example again,
Yes.
because he 1 year he was
And I
in the
cannot
national team,
blame
and the
him
next
for
year he
this.
didn't make the national team, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. So he didn't make it by a little bit, and that's it. He knows he's good. Trust me, he knows he's a good
Yeah,
fencer, right?
definitely.
But now the motivation is not quite there to go and pursue it again. If he would make the national team and he would continue making it every year, he would be fully motivated. But once not making it is very difficult. It breaks a lot of people. A lot of people start deciding, oh, okay, maybe this is not for me. Now maybe I'll go do something else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's difficult to develop the senior fencing. I think we are doing as good as we can, and we are doing a good job with emphasizing the cadets and juniors. The only other way of it happening, so right now, one of the students that I was working with for the summer, him and his family, they went away to Italy.
Italy?
Yeah, they went to Italy, and they live in Rome, or near Rome, at least from what I
Okay.
understand. And they found a club for their son to go and practice. This kid actually was at your camp last year, and he went to practice there. And he's saying, I was talking to him a little bit. He was saying how there's right now with the virus, there's a lot of
Okay.
restrictions, and like there's either the younger kids, which he beats up on, but there's also the older guys that he loses to. And I started thinking that's really the only way they could happen here in this part of the world is you have to have a club that developed good fencers. So we will see with the New York Fencing Academy, we will see that is that those kids graduate, they stop fencing, but they go to university, maybe they fence university, then they get jobs, they have their kids, and at some point in time, they're going to look to come back to fencing. And once they come back and train for another 2 years, at least recreationally, but they're like, you have like all of your Alan Timirievs, Anton Schmutz, Nathan Weisbergs. When they come back, they're still going to be very good at the age of 35, right? And so now they're going to start developing your kids even stronger. And then you may have a junior that makes the senior national team. And that's how it's going to continue for someone. So that's, I think, the path is you're going to have to make the senior national team as a junior, at least in your last junior year. And then you could continue with the Olympic path.
It's a difficult question, you know what? To be in the top, you have to have people who you can fence with in your gym, you know, because that's what we was talking about. Like, if our kids I was telling us like, okay, I have no one to fence with. Like, why I have to come in the gym? Because you're one of the best fencer in the gym. That's
Yes.
why. That's why you have no one to fence with, because you're one of the best, and you have to focus on yourself to build up and develop your own skills.
Yeah, and also if you have the best fencer fencing, it's going to develop people that's a little bit weaker, and it's going to create growth as a group, right?
Why wouldn't these people like who's on the top cannot pass the knowledge to other kids to make them better and to build up the people who can fence with him, like to be the good competitor?
Well, not everybody at the age of 15, 16, 17 years old thinks that way, right?
That's true.
Sounds good, Yarik. I think on this note, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
I think our second session went fairly well.
That was amazing, right? Like I was really, really glad to hear you, see you, and see the Alex today. That was really amazing. And I think this is not the last time when we are doing this podcast. I think it's working, and I really like those people who are watching us, who are looking at us, who hear us, not just.
I hope there is somebody. We'll see.
Yeah, there is. Already people are telling me that is a really good stuff. There, you guys doing a really good job. So I'm appreciating.
Sounds good. That's always motivating. We need motivation to spread more motivation.
I hope we're gonna bring some people
We will.
On this podcast.
We have lots of interesting people in the fencing world that we know between the both of us, and we have a lot of other resources.
I'm working on it. I have one person. I have.
Perfect. I love it.
You will be very excited to hear the name.
I'm excited already. Yeah. All right. On that note, let me wrap it up and then see you guys next week.